There was a moment on every British holiday when the arguments in the back seat finally stopped. The sign appeared, that cheerful chef in his whites, and the whole car sat up. Little chef meant you had travelled far enough to deserve a proper feed. From 1960 until the last one closed its doors in 2018, these roadside diners fed tired families somewhere between home and the seaside. Today we are counting down 25 forgotten Little Chef meals every British family ordered on those long journeys. Let us begin with number 25. Number 25. The plain fried egg on toast was the order for the child who wanted nothing complicated, and the parent who wanted something on the table fast. 2 slices of white toast, a single egg fried until the edge went lacy and brown, a pat of butter melting into the corners. It cost pennies against the bigger plates and arrived almost before the coats were off. Fathers ordered it when they'd already eaten, but couldn't sit at a little chef table without something in front of them. Mothers ordered it for the little one who'd been sick in the car near Exeter. It wasn't the meal anyone remembered on the drive home, but it was the meal that kept a fractious toddler quiet for the last 40 miles. And in a packed diner on a bank holiday Monday, that was worth its weight in gold. Number 24. Beans on toast held a strange dignity on the Little Chef menu, a dish so humble it seemed almost cheeky to charge for it. Yet there it sat, a mound of Heinz poured over 2 triangles of buttered toast, steam rising in the fluorescent light. Children who refused everything else would eat beans on toast. And parents knew it, ordering it as insurance against a tantrum 300 miles from home. The waitress never blinked. She'd carried 1,000 plates of it to 1,000 fidgeting families. For the grown-ups, it was the cheapest way to buy 20 minutes of sitting still after hours behind the wheel. The tomato sauce would end up on a jumper, the toast would go cold at the crusts, but for that short pause off the A-road, beans on toast was the taste of a family finally at rest. Number 23. The bacon roll was the order of the impatient traveller, the one who'd pulled in only for petrol and coffee, but couldn't resist the smell drifting from the griddle. 2 rashers of back bacon folded into a soft, white bap. A squirt of red or brown sauce, wrapped or plated depending on how far you still had to go. It was breakfast for people who had no time for breakfast, fuel grabbed at 7:30 with the engine practically still running. Lorry drivers swore by it. Dads on the school holiday dash to Cornwall ate it one-handed in the car park. The grease soaked through the bap and marked the paper, and that mark was the whole point. Proof of a proper bacon roll, not the sad, limp thing from a service station machine. Simple, salty, gone in 4 bites, and somehow exactly what a long morning demanded. Number 22. EGG and chips was the meal that asked nothing of anyone. 2 fried eggs, a generous heap of chips, and that was the lot. No garnish, no pretense, no need. It was the order for the traveller counting the pennies, the pensioner couple on a day out, the teenager who'd been dragged along and wanted the most chips for the least money. The chips at Little Chef had a particular quality, thick and pale gold, the kind that needed a proper shake of salt and a good dollop of ketchup from the squeezy bottle on the table. You mopped the runny yolk with them until the plate was clean. Nobody wrote home about egg and chips, but on a rainy afternoon halfway up the A1, with the windows fogging and the rain hammering the car park, it was the plate that made you glad you'd stopped. Number 21. The omelette was the quiet sophisticate of the menu, the choice for the customer who fancied something cooked to order rather than assembled. Cheese, ham, or mushroom, folded and browned, served with chips and a scatter of salad that most people pushed to the side. It arrived looking neater than everything else on the table, and the person who'd ordered it felt vaguely superior for about a minute. Mothers ordered omelettes when they wanted to feel they'd chosen sensibly. It was lighter than the fry-ups and the gammon, easier on a stomach that had been lurching round the bends of a coast road since dawn. The cheese oozed at the fold, the edges crisped, and for a family used to whatever came out of the pan at home, watching Mum eat something made just for her felt like a small holiday all of its own. Number 20. Soup of the day was the order for the cold traveller, the one who came in shivering from a February forecourt with numb hands and a long way still to go. Usually tomato, sometimes vegetable, ladled into a bowl with a bread roll and a foil-wrapped pat of butter on the side. It steamed. It warmed hands cupped around it before it warmed anything else. Older customers loved it, the ones who remembered wartime thrift and found comfort in something so plain. You dunked the roll, you tore it, you soaked up the last of the bowl. It cost little and delivered exactly what it promised: heat in a building that was always warm and bright when the world outside the window was grey and sleeting. On the worst driving days of the year, soup of the day was less a meal than a small act of mercy. Number 19. The toasted tea cake belonged to the afternoon tea crowd, the travellers who stopped not for a meal, but for a pause. Split, toasted, buttered so it soaked through and glistened, served on a small plate beside a pot of tea. It was the order of grandmothers, of couples who'd been driving since lunch and wanted something sweet, but not heavy. The currants caught in your teeth. The butter ran down your fingers. You had it with a proper pot, milk poured first or last, depending on how strongly you felt about it, and you sat there for 20 minutes watching the traffic on the road you'd soon rejoin. It was gentle and old-fashioned even at the time, a taste of a slower Britain. When people remember Little Chef fondly now, it's often not the fry-ups they picture, but this, a tea cake, a pot of tea, and no hurry. Number 18. The bottomless filter coffee was less a drink than an institution. That glass jug on the hot plate, the waitress circling the room to top you up again and again, was one of the small miracles of the Little Chef experience. For the driver facing another 4 hours of motorway in the dark, it was salvation, cup after cup, until the eyelids lifted and the road came back into focus. It wasn't good coffee, not by today's standards. Stewed, a little bitter, always slightly too hot or slightly too cool. But it was endless. And endless was what a knackered father driving through the night actually needed. The refills came without asking. You could sit there long past your food, nursing another cup, and nobody moved you on. In an age before the drive-through flat white, that hot plate jug kept half of Britain awake on its holiday journeys. Number 17. The kids' menu was its own small world, printed with games and a maze, and it came with something no child ever forgot: a lollipop at the end, handed over by the waitress like a reward for good behavior. The food was fish fingers and French fried potatoes, or sausage and beans, or chicken shapes, portions sized for small appetites and served fast before the whining started. There was a little chef mascot, that round, cheerful figure the whole brand was built on, and children felt he was somehow theirs. Parents ordered off the kids' menu with relief, knowing it would arrive quickly and vanish without complaint. But it was the lollipop that mattered. It bought silence for the next stretch of road, and it made a tired child feel that this stop, this diner, had been a treat laid on just for them. Number 16. The milkshake was thick enough to make your cheeks ache pulling it up the straw. Strawberry, chocolate, or banana, served tall and cold, it was the drink children begged for the moment the car turned off the road. Half the fun was the effort, the straw barely delivering anything until you gave up and spooned it or waited for it to soften. Teenagers ordered them too, pretending they were too old to be excited and finishing them faster than the little ones. It was sweet, cold, and a small extravagance on a menu of sensible plates, which is exactly why it was so coveted. In the summer, with the car park shimmering and the windows down, a Little Chef milkshake was the closest thing to a holiday you could hold in your hand before you'd even reached the beach. Number 15. The cheeseburger and chips was the order for the family who wanted something a bit American, a bit modern, in a diner that had always styled itself on the roadside eateries of the United States. A beef patty, a slice of melting cheese, a soft bun, and that reliable heap of chips beside it. It wasn't a gourmet burger, nobody claimed it was, but it was hot and generous, and it satisfied the child who considered themselves too grown up for the kids' menu now. Teenagers slouched in the vinyl booths and ordered it with a Coke, feeling worldly. Fathers had it when they fancied a change from the fry-up. It sat somewhere between the diner's traditional heart and the fast food future that would eventually help finish the chain off, and for a while it was one of the most ordered plates in the building. Number 14. Chicken and chips arrived as breaded fillets, or, for the younger diners, as shapes, golden and crisp beside the inevitable chips and a scattering of peas. It was the safe middle ground, the order for the child who'd outgrown fish fingers but wasn't ready for a gammon steak. Mothers liked that it looked like a proper meal, something with protein and a vegetable, even if the vegetable was pushed politely to the rim of the plate. The breadcrumb coating shattered when you cut it, the chicken steamed inside. Dipped in ketchup, chased with chips, it was gone in minutes. Nobody's most vivid Little Chef memory, perhaps, but a steady workhorse of the menu, the plate that fed a generation of fussy eaters somewhere on the road to the caravan park, and kept the peace all the way there. Number 13. The mixed grill was the order for the hungry man, the one who'd been driving since before dawn and intended to eat accordingly. A sausage, a rasher or two of bacon, a gammon steak, sometimes a piece of liver or a lamb chop, a fried egg, a tomato, mushrooms, and chips, all crowded onto one straining plate. It was a challenge as much as a meal. Fathers ordered it and went quiet, working through it methodically, while the rest of the family watched with a mix of admiration and alarm. It cost more than most things on the menu, and delivered more too. Enough fuel to see a driver clear to Scotland without another stop. When it landed on the table with a clatter, the whole family leaned back to give it room. Few dishes said, "We've earned this stop," quite like the mixed grill. Number 12. Scampi and chips carried a whiff of the seaside even when you were still 2 counties inland. Golden breaded scampi, half a dozen or so, served with chips, peas, and a wedge of lemon and a tub of tartar sauce the children eyed with deep suspicion. It felt like a treat, a little more special than sausage and chips, the order of the customer marking the occasion. You dipped each one, you squeezed the lemon, you saved the crispiest for last. For families heading to Cornwall or the Norfolk coast, scampi and chips at Little Chef was a preview of the holiday to come. A first taste of that seaside supper feeling before you would so much as glimpsed the sea. It has faded from menus almost everywhere now, but for anyone who grew up on those long summer drives, the smell of it brings the whole journey rushing back. Number 11. Sausage, egg, and chips was the honest heart of the menu, the plate that asked for nothing, and gave you everything you actually wanted. 2 plump sausages, a fried egg or 2, a mountain of chips, and a pot of tea alongside. It was the order of the sensible traveler, neither showing off with the mixed grill nor economizing with beans on toast. You cut the sausage, you burst the yolk, you let it run into the chips. It was the taste of a proper break in a long day, filling enough to matter, cheap enough not to sting. Grandfathers ordered it, dads ordered it. It was the plate that summed up what Little Chef was really for. Not fine dining, never that, but a hot, reliable feed at the roadside when you were tired and far from home, and glad of a table that would have you. Number 10. Ham, egg, and chips was the quieter cousin. beloved by an older generation who'd eaten it in transport cafes long before Little Chef came along. Thick slices of ham, 2 eggs with the yolks left soft, chips, and a slice of bread and butter on the side to make a sandwich of the leftovers. It was thrifty and unfussy and exactly right. Pensioners on a day trip ordered it and lingered over it, in no rush to leave the warmth. It tasted of a Britain that was already fading, even as Little Chef served it, the Britain of the roadside calf and the greasy spoon. The eggs, cooked properly, were the making of it, 2 of them glistening, the yolks waiting to be broken over the chips. A plain plate, a faithful plate, and one that the regulars ordered again and again for decades. Number 9. The all-day breakfast was Little Chef's promise to the world. It did not matter what the clock said, you could have a fry-up. Bacon, sausage, egg, beans, tomato, sometimes a hash brown or fried bread, served at 2 in the afternoon to a driver who had missed breakfast entirely on the early start. There was something gloriously defiant about ordering it at tea time, a small rebellion against the rules of when things were meant to be eaten. Shift workers loved it. Hungover travelers loved it more. It was breakfast unbound from the morning, and in a diner built for people who lived by the road rather than the clock. That made perfect sense. The plate came loaded and hot, and whatever hour you were eating it, that first forkful of bean-soaked sausage tasted like the start of the day, wherever the day had already taken you. Number 8. The gammon steak with pineapple was the sit-down occasion meal, the order for the family marking something, the start of the summer holiday, a birthday on the road, a stop that felt like more than just refueling. A thick gammon steak, griddled and salty, crowned with a ring of tinned pineapple and served with chips and peas. The sweetness of the fruit against the salt of the ham was the height of sophistication in a roadside diner, a combination that felt almost daring. Mothers ordered it and felt they'd chosen something proper. Children stared at the pineapple, unsure whether fruit belonged on a dinner plate at all, then ate it anyway. It was a fixture for decades, one of those dishes that has quietly vanished from British menus everywhere, and its passing takes with it a whole era of what a nice meal out was supposed to look like. Number 7. The sirloin steak was the top of the menu, the order for the driver treating himself, the plate that said the holiday budget could stretch a little today. Cooked to order, and cooked, if we're honest. However, the griddle felt like cooking it. It was served with chips, mushrooms, a grilled tomato, and onion rings if you were lucky. It cost the most, and it carried the most ceremony. Fathers ordered it on the way home from a good week away, flush with holiday contentment, and cut into it slowly. It was never a great steak. It didn't need to be. It was a steak at a roadside diner off a dual carriageway, and the point was the small luxury of it, the sense that you'd earned something after the drive. On the vinyl seats under the strip lights, it felt, briefly, like an occasion. Number 6. The banana split was the pudding that made children gasp. A whole banana halved lengthways, 3 scoops of ice cream nestled between, drizzled with sauce, scattered with nuts or hundreds and thousands, and finished with a spurt of squirty cream and a glaced cherry on top. It arrived in its long dish like something from a film, far grander than anything a child expected from a building beside a petrol station. You shared it, or you didn't, depending on how kind you were feeling towards your siblings. The ice cream melted into the sauce, the banana went soft, and you scraped the dish clean and asked, hopelessly, if you could have another. For a generation of British children, the banana split at Little Chef was pure theatre, the treat that turned an ordinary journey into a memory that lasted a lifetime. Number 5. The Knickerbocker glory towered above every other pudding, layered ice cream and fruit and jelly and sauce, climbing up a tall sundae glass, eaten with a long spoon that barely reached the bottom. It was the order of ambition, the pudding a child pointed at on the menu with wide eyes and no real hope of being allowed it. And sometimes, on the last day, on a birthday, on a parent's soft-hearted whim, they were allowed it. The spoon dived down through the layers, each one different, cream and syrup and cold, sweet fruit. It took ages to eat, and every second was glorious. Long after the details of the drive had faded, the shape of that glass and the length of that spoon stayed lodged in memory. Few things captured the sheer treat of stopping at Little Chef like a Knickerbocker glory demolished slowly on a summer afternoon. Number 4. The chocolate fudge cake was the grown-ups' indulgence. A thick, dark wedge served warm with a scoop of ice cream or a jug of cream, dense enough to defeat all but the most determined. Mothers who'd resisted the fry-up and virtuously ordered an omelette found their resolve crumbling at the pudding menu. And there it was, waiting. It was rich, gooey, almost too much, and that was exactly the appeal. You shared bites across the table. You said you couldn't possibly. Then you finished it. Served alongside that bottomless coffee, it was the perfect full stop to a Little Chef stop, the reason to linger just a little longer before facing the road again. Sweet, heavy, and quietly decadent, the fudge cake was the diner at its most comforting, a small, warm, chocolatey reward for having driven this far and coming this close to home. Number 3. The early starter was one of the oldest breakfasts Little Chef ever served, on the menu almost from the beginning, built for the crowd that hit the road before the sun was properly up. Smaller than the Olympic, it was the sensible fry-up, a sausage, bacon, egg, beans or tomato, toast and tea, for the traveler who wanted a proper start without the enormous plate. Lorry drivers ordered it at 5:30. Families on the dawn departure to beat the traffic ordered it as the light came up grey over the car park. It was the taste of the very start of a journey, of setting off, of the long day of driving still ahead, and the seaside impossibly far away. For decades it opened the day for anyone brave enough to leave before dawn, and its warm, greasy comfort made the early alarm almost worth it. Number 2. The Jubilee pancake was the dessert that broke 1,000 small hearts and delighted 1,000 more. Introduced in 1977 for the Queen's Silver Jubilee, it was a folded pancake filled with warm cherry compote, served with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, sliding slowly into the heat of it. Children who spotted it on the menu wanted nothing else, and children who were not allowed it never quite forgot the longing. The warm cherries against the cold ice cream, the soft pancake, the sheer specialness of it. This was the order that made a Little Chef stop feel like Christmas in the middle of July. It survived on the menu for over 40 years, right to the very end. Ask anyone who grew up traveling Britain's roads in those decades, and the Jubilee pancake sits high in their memory, sweet and warm and impossibly desirable, the pudding that defined the place. And finally, in first place, the Olympic breakfast crowned the entire menu, the signature plate that Little Chef will forever be remembered by. Added in 1994, named for both the games and its own enormous size, it was so large a special extra-wide plate had to be designed just to hold it. 2 rashers of back bacon, a fat sausage, 2 griddled eggs, mushrooms, beans, a grilled tomato, and more, piled high beneath the fluorescent lights. It was breakfast as a monument, fuel for a family facing 300 miles of motorway, and ordering it felt like a declaration of intent. Fathers squared up to it. Hungry teenagers demolished it. Even the great chef Heston Blumenthal, in his famous television attempt to revive the chain, could not bring himself to abolish it. When the last Little Chef closed in 2018 and the Olympic breakfast passed into memory, Britain lost more than a plate of food. It lost the taste of the journey itself. That bright, warm, welcoming stop by the roadside that told a tired family they'd made it far enough, and the best part of the holiday was still to come. There they are, 25 forgotten little chef meals that fed British families down every A road to the sea. If one of these brought a journey flooding back, tell me in the comments which plate you always ordered. And be honest, were you ever once in your whole childhood actually allowed the Jubilee pancake?